Bueno, a continuación quiero dejar con ustedes a Michael Coe de IBM. Michael va a hacer una presentación de Digital Banking y cómo esto impacta desde la profundidad de los core, de los sistemas, de la banca profunda. De la banca oscura, como dijo. No, the dark bank. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's your
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Okay.
That's
the clicker?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. So sorry, folks, it's going to be in English. I do not speak Spanish. And I'm also going to talk about probably the dark side of digital banking. Okay, so my name is Mike Kehoe. I run worldwide threat and intelligence for IBM, mainly inside our financial services sector, but I also work for other parts of the intelligence communities around the world, which we can't really name too often. Some of them are quite close to this city also. So what I'm going to talk about is what we do in digital banking to keep you safe. Now, IBM has been at the forefront of digital banking even from 1962, when we helped design the very first ATM machine. And clearly, we've now seen, with the disruption in digital banking, from physical to digital banking, we've seen things like blockchain, AI, IoT, and so on and so forth, that there's been some great advances and some great experiences. We saw some very good videos just with the last presenter. And clearly, why have we done this? And I looked this up on Wikipedia, but we've done it for business efficiency, cost savings, increased accuracy, improved competitiveness, and enhanced security. That's where it gets a little bit more difficult, because have we enhanced security is a question that you could answer, yes, we have, or no, we haven't. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So with new opportunities that are growing from digital banking and the solutions we give, unfortunately, we also give opportunities for the bad guys. There are new opportunities for people to actually threaten our banks. But it's still the same old, because behind every threat, just because we've gone digital, just because we've gone into AI, just because we've gone into computers, the aggressors are still humans. So we're still fighting the different foe, they're just using different weapons. But the nice thing then about digital banking is that unlike physical banking, with interactions of our banking, there is always a footprint. Now, it might be very small, but there's always something there. And that's what we have to home in on. That if somebody's doing recon on our bank, if somebody's testing fraudulent behavior, if somebody's testing account takeover, they might have left a small signal behind. And that's what we have to look for. And then you might think, oh, you know, if we get taken by a money laundering operation, by an account takeover, by a man in the middle, by a synthetic ID, we were unlucky. Wrong. The guys who do this do not be lucky. Maybe if you walk into a bank with a pistol and ask for the teller to hand over the cash box, and she does or he does, that's luck. And you don't get caught, that's luck. When people come in and take money from our digital, that's not lucky. They have done their recon. They've worked out our systems, they've worked out our process, they've worked out our rules, and they've gone slow and low, and they remain concealed, and then they hit us. So luck has nothing to do with it. Because these guys are smart, and I've worked around the world with all the big banks, and we've worked in some pretty large frauds, crimes, with digital, with money transactions, with sanctions lists, bribery, and so on. And the people that we are constantly defending against are quite smart. Now, back in the good old days, of course, and you're going to have physical security. You're going to have your security guards. You're going to have your safes. You're going to have your protected locations. But that's not what we do today if we're a digital bank. The last speaker said that we have moved away from physical locations. You've got banks like Robobank, which doesn't have any branches. It's all online payments. So you might have seen here, this happened just last week in Dublin. It says Bank of Ireland. They went in with the digger and they ripped out the ATM out of the wall. Now, that's not really a smart attack, because the guys didn't realize that the paint bomb would have exploded inside the ATM and destroyed the cash box. And also, the tracker would have gone off and started tracking them. So they have to get into maybe the 50,000, 60,000 euros inside that box to make a killing. But they didn't realize that there was actually protection inside, which we keep low. Now, imagine if one of those bills turned up in circulation and wasn't damaged by a paint bomb. But then how do they get the ATM out of the wall and get the money out of the ATM without the money being damaged? Then you've got to consider, is there an insider in the bank that actually switched off the defenses of the ATM? So suddenly you're looking now at a digital trail. So sometimes you have physical and digital coming together. But I'm more interested, if I'm going to rob a bank, not looking at their wall, looking where I can place a digger, how I can dig an ATM out of a wall. I'm going to go onto their website, and I'm going to look at where are my threat surfaces? Where can I get in? And I did this was a bank out of Africa, and I said, okay, you have online banking. That gives me an opportunity to cyber, to do a man in the middle, to do a ransomware, to do a denial of service. You also have loans. That gives me the opportunity to generate a synthetic ID, to become somebody different, so I can actually set up a loan account with you. So are you doing background screening? You also have credit cards. Can I do credit card takeover? Can I do ATM skimming? Can I do ring my client? Can I do phishing campaigns? These are the threat surfaces we have to push against. We also have organized crime with jackpotting. There was a bank out of India called Azumu Bank that was taken for $14 million in one night. It took 2.5 hours because they were jackpotted. But they weren't jackpotted, which is taking the money from the ATMs by a digger. They hit the enterprise server, which shut down the hundreds of ATMs they had, and they had people ready to go and clean those ATMs out. So there's a lot better risk for lower extensions. And then we have money laundering if you're doing money transfer. Anything above 15,000 euros in Europe has to be proven to be a legitimate gain. Huge amount of issues with that. So we have to protect ourselves against the 3 Rs. The reputation. If we fall victim to these guys, we can lose money like in our reputation, like Target did. They lost 22% of their market value after they were taken by a cyber attack. Regulators. If the regulators find you money laundering, they will fine you hard. If they find you working across sanctions lists, they will fine you hard. If they find you're connecting with anti-bribery and corruption, they will fine you hard. So even though you don't lose money, your fines can be in the hundreds of millions. And then finally, revenue, like account takeover, wire man in the middle, wire transfers, all thumbs we have to look at. So if I was to talk maybe a year ago, we'd kind of show you this chart and go, that's quite noisy. So IBM's made it much easier to explain, and we explain it over 3 types of business conversations. We talk about what's your strategy and risk inside your organization, how really do you threat manage, and how do you have digital trust when you actually never meet the person on the other side, as you could see with the last presenter. So we've evolved. Back in 2011, you would just have security as probably an add-on. So you would have single factor authentication, and you just put it in. And then, of course, as security protection came much more involved, IBM and other organizations started to build SOCs, security operations centers, and started to interlink endpoint protection, data protection, investigation. But clearly we've moved on and we've said we should be looking at, as our organizations start to go into cloud, protecting the cloud, protecting everything that sits inside it. Just like Cap Bastion in the Middle East when the armed forces had a large green zone which brought all different, the United States, the United States, the English, the UN, the Australians into one location, as a secure location for them to do their operations. Likewise with the cloud. We can bring all our banking transactions, ATMs, customers, HR systems, real estate systems onto a single cloud and protect that from a single point of view. And then, of course, AI and Watson, quantum computing, IoT, blockchain security are all what is going to continue to disrupt in a positive way the way we respond to threats. So again, there's nothing, if I was to peel back, there's nothing new here. These are all the products IBM has, and I'm not going to go through them. But they're there. But let me talk to you about how we do then strategy. We have things like the Cyber Range based out of Boston, where we bring teams in and we put them under pressure. We put them under severe pressure, that an event is happening and a phone goes off and goes, this is the local newsroom, can you actually comment on the cyber attack that you had or the fraudulent attack? And we just stop and we just stand back and we let maybe a group of 10 or 15 people from different banks work that scenario. And we then continue to pile the pressure on because we want a real world event. We have our mobile command center. I was in Madrid last week, which actually brings it to our clients. We have red teams who actually only talk with maybe 2 or 3 senior people in the bank, and they're given opportunities to attack that bank. In some cases, in the physical banks, they'll actually dress up as workmen, and they'll try to get into the bank into IP ports. In virtual banks and digital banks, they'll do their very best to try to break through the apps, break through the onlines, and so on. But they're the good guys pretending to be bad guys. And then worldwide experts, such as Root, who brought us here today, so thank you, Root, who are based in Mexico. We work with those guys to explain to our clients what you should be looking at. Example of this. Tomorrow at this time is the best time in the whole year to go after an Irish bank with an online attack. Does anybody know why? It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. Tomorrow at this time is going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. Most of the staff will have started to go home for this superb party weekend in Dublin, where I'm from. We told our customers, you go to DEFCON 1 tomorrow. You are fully hunkered down, because if anybody's going to go against your bank, they're going to go against your bank tomorrow. And that's what we explain. So that's the strategy. Then if we go into threat management, we talk about then how can we get all these products that are right-sized for your bank. And it's difficult to read, but we actually step outside, and we use things like OSINT, open source intelligence. We say, listen into the bad guys. Why should we wait to be attacked? We once found with a bank that somebody was willing to pay over 10,000 euros to find out when the bank would reset its SIM system, which is its cyber protection system. And somebody said, if you give me 15, I'll tell you. And there was a conversation on a dark web about where that was going. Even before we were attacked, somebody was actually talking about the SIM system. And he said, well, I'm not going to tell you, but it's on a Saturday, but I won't tell you which Saturday and what time of that Saturday. Then we realized that somebody's working a threat vector completely outside our organization. So what do? We told the bank, well, we worked with the bank, and they changed who knows that, but they also had to lay a honey trap because they think they had an insider giving that information out. So looking at OSINT is key as well. Open source intelligence. Processing, what happens when you learn something new? Who do you tell? How do you fix it? Like I said with the Cosmo Bank, it took them 2.5 hours to clean out $14 million, but they had done their recon. They had actually tested those ATMs. We need to figure out how those signals and get them into our process. And again, we're fighting very smart people, and we have smart people. We've got to be able to understand that. So we have to always be moving fast in the speed of threat. What our rules engine is, if somebody's trying to get into our location from North Korea, kill them. We know we don't do business with North Korea. If someone's rotating a password, kill it. We don't let that. But as we see the more sophisticated attempts, and we do have some great systems, we should be feeding this back to say, we've learned something, make it a rule. We've learned something from a threat report, make it a rule. We've seen something happen to another bank, make it a rule. We should always be evolving, because I can guarantee you that threatscape is evolving. And these are not 16-year-olds in their bedrooms. These are people sitting in Prague in groups of 15, 20 people working for the Russian laundromat. These are people out of Panama in a nice little office, all wear nice chinos and polo tops, and they're doing their recon. We've got to be careful about those guys. So if I move on then to digital, we have to then start going to digital trust, and it's a new word of your day. The people that come to us, that open up our accounts, that look for money transfers, that look for loans, that look for insurance, we have to be able to, do we know who they are? Have we seen them before? Are they connected to a watch list? Once they do transaction with our bank, are they transacting with us out of Mexico, but then 3 minutes later they're trying to transact with us out of Bangalore? Whoa, we've got to stop that. So there's great systems and solutions that IBM and other IBM partners can actually help you with. So these are just quickly just showing you what you should be thinking of. Okay. And again, all this will start to diverge to cloud. So we in IBM and our IBM partners will also help you along that journey to say, well, if you do move to cloud, and maybe a couple of years ago people say, well, I'm not going to go to cloud, it's a little bit unsafe. It's not. Actually having it into like a green zone and then having your own individual silos is a very, very strategical, secure move to go. Again, we can help out, and then we can start using AI across your data. And we can then look at information and these tiny signals that are appearing across your data, say, that doesn't look right, and we can open that anomaly up. So finally, let me just say that a threat is a threat is a threat. And I've talked a little bit about cyber here, but I'm not exclusively cyber by any means. You can get insiders, and insiders only have to be smarter than you. They don't have to be that smart. Wells Fargo was fined $162 million for letting folks inside their bank sell credit cards to the customers without telling their credit cards. Those guys made $50 per sale, nothing major. But when the financial regulator found out, it slapped a large fine on the sale calling of Wells Fargo. I look after Twitter. Twitter gets threatened by ISIS every other day. You can be sure that our financial institutions will be exposed to money laundering, human trafficking, narcotics, and so on. And if you start shutting their accounts down, they can get a bit annoyed. So we have to look after our executives. Money laundering, $775 million was just slapped against ING in September for not stopping the Russian laundromat abusing their system. And you can start money laundering at 15,000 euros all the way up to $1 billion. We do combating fraud, but we found cases where people were defrauding individuals in our locations based on they weren't the right people. We were able to look into their Facebook accounts, their LinkedIn accounts, and what they were telling the insurance companies didn't make sense. We saw one guy who said he had back injury, and and when we went to Facebook, he was on a jet ski, picked him up. And then finally, we take a look at watch lists. Who's connected to who? Are they breaking sanctions lists? Are they working with Iran? Are they working with North Korea? All these are the kind of threat vectors that we have to be aware of as we progress our business, as we generate new opportunities in digital banking. So with that, I'd like to say gracias. Thank you very much, and something to think about.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your support and the support of IBM and of our startup in Latin America. Many startups work with Bluemix and other kind of technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh,
Latin American wine is Argentinian wine.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.